Lewis and I will give the same warning we did in our review of Thor Ragnarok. We are not experts on the Marvel comic books, but what little we do know we will apply to this review of Avengers Infinity Wars. So you're being warned now. If you do not want spoilers, please do not go further from this point. Alright, here we go. The first scene we see in the movie is the massacre of the Asgardian ship. As you know, in Thor Ragnarok, the last scene had a bigger spaceship meeting the ship of the survivors of the Asgard Ragnarok. So everyone seems to be dead, but later on Thor kinda says, I think that Thanos only killed half of the Asgardians, but from what I see, everyone's dead except Loki, Thor, and Heimdall. So Thor and Loki are no match for Thanos, but Loki says, we have a Hulk, which is kind of funny because that was the line pulled on him by Tony Stark in the first Avengers movie. But Thanos defeats Hulk in hand-to-hand combat, and the children of Thanos were just watching. Mainly they were Corvus Glaive, Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, and Black Dwarf. Heimdall teleported Banner to Earth, though he was killed by Thanos for this. Loki secretly had the Tesseract, which Thanos knew of and got from him. So I was saying in our Thor Ragnarok review that Loki must have taken the Tesseract before the destruction of Asgard when he saw that it was in Odin's vault. So he did have it, and now Thanos added the Tesseract, the Space Stone. By crushing the Tesseract, he got the Space Stone and added it to the Infinity Gauntlet. So he has two now, because he also has the Power Stone, because he decimated Xandar, which was actually not shown. I was also assuming that out of his fear, Loki could have possibly sided with Thanos and betrayed the Avengers, even if not wholeheartedly, but it turns out he was on their side all along because he was pretending to give his allegiances to Thanos and then tried to kill him himself. But Thanos choked Loki to death in front of Thor before using the Space Stone to teleport everyone out of there except for Thor and the dead bodies that are now remaining on the ship. Before teleporting though, Thanos used the Power Stone to destroy the ship, which is the first indication that he knows how to use these stones and has perfect mastery over them. So Hulk crashed into Doctor Strange's mansion, and Doctor Strange called on Tony Stark. Banner warns them all that Thanos is coming, and true enough, Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf attack them. Tony Stark uses his new nanotech Iron Man suit, which is pretty cool. He sort of can almost summon new things with his arms, like it was made of clay or whatever, because of the nanotech, sort of forming different weapons and different tools to his need. Spider-Man saw the ship that they were using and went to help them. Incidentally, he was in a field trip and the bus was being driven by Stan Lee, though when they all saw the ship and panicked, Stan Lee went, "What, you guys never saw a ship before?" or something to that effect. And the Hulk refused to show himself. When Banner was trying to summon him, Hulk was sort of semi-showing himself and going, "No!" the whole time. And he actually does not help them throughout the movie, aside from when he first faces Thanos, and it's not explained either why. So, these Avengers could take on Black Dwarf, but Ebony Maw's telekinesis was so strong. He took Doctor Strange and went for planet Titan, because he could not take off the Time Stone from Doctor Strange's pendant due to a spell that he placed on it. Now, Tony Stark gave Spider-Man a new suit and it was space ready, so despite Tony telling Spider-Man not to come with him, they were both stuck in the spaceship, and Tony and Spider-Man had to save Doctor Strange. Of course, they were no match for Ebony Maw, but Tony Stark blew a hole to create a vacuum in space that sucked Ebony Maw out of the ship, and this was all due to movies that Spider-Man had watched. So Spider-Man used his webbing to sort of rescue Doctor Strange from being sucked out to this vacuum as well, and his new suit had sort of spider legs that helped him do so, and then Tony Stark sealed the hole and they were all safe. So they all decided to go to Titan to ambush Thanos, because he was expecting Ebony Maw to give the Time Stone to him there. Back in Scotland, Vision and Scarlet Witch are enjoying time to themselves, but they are attacked by Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive because Vision's forehead has the Mind Stone attached to it. Corvus Glaive is able to wound Vision even despite his powers. And Captain America makes a dramatic entrance when all seems lost. I kinda like this new all-black Captain America outfit he has going for him, and Falcon and Black Widow are with him. They wound Corvus Glaive while he and Proxima Midnight escape. They all fly off in the Quinjet to the Avengers headquarters, where they meet up with Dr. Banner and War Machine. So the Guardians of the Galaxy, they receive a distress signal from the destroyed Asgardian ship, and that's where they pick up Thor. There was an after-credits scene wherein Thor landed on their ship, and this was the scene that did so. Gamora tells Thor stories about Thanos, that she's sort of his daughter, and they share sentiment about having family problems, with Loki and all, his mother being slain, his father being Odin, and they agree that no matter what, Thanos has to be stopped. So Thor, Rocket, and Groot go to Nidavellir, while Drax, Starr-Lord, Gamora, Mantis go to nowhere. The reason they go to nowhere is because there's another Infinity Stone there. But first, they need an actual weapon that could defeat Thanos, and that's why Thor, Rocket, and Groot went to Nidavellir, where the Dying Star is, where Mjolnir was forged. Now, isn't his God of Thunder powers enough, seeing that he sort of mastered it in Thor Ragnarok? Nidavellir's flame is almost out when they get there. And they meet Pip the Troll, the person who apparently makes all these cool weapons. Unfortunately, he made the Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos because Thanos promised to spare everyone who was there, but there were like 300 dwarves, and he was the only one who was spared even though he made the gauntlet for Thanos. And then they rendered the forge unoperational and the Dying Star almost completely dead. So Pip does have a weapon that Thor can use. In fact, it's a weapon that was supposed to be made for the next king of Asgard. It's called Stormbreaker. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's way easier for me to enunciate and spell than Mjolnir. Now, this weapon was powerful enough that it could do what the Bifrost does, technically sort of teleport them around. And Thor needed to restart the forge, which almost got himself killed because he took the full force of the Dying Star that was needed to smelt the metal that made Stormbreaker. Groot used part of himself to make the handle of Stormbreaker, and this is where the scene ended, with Thor having his new weapon finally. Before going to nowhere, Gamora had a flashback, wherein Thanos was killing all her people as a little girl but spared her. He gave her a knife that was perfectly balanced and said how he wanted the universe to be equally balanced just like the knife. This was basically the day that he took her in. Now Gamora made Starr-Lord promise to kill her if Thanos gets to her, because she says that she knows something that Thanos absolutely cannot know. Obviously this is the Soul Stone's whereabouts, because the Soul Stone is the last Infinity Stone that has yet to be introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the Collector has the Reality Stone in Nowhere. It was given to him by the Asgardians in the after-credits scene of Thor: The Dark World. Nowhere seems intact, but deserted, and they see Thanos is already there, so they attack Thanos and Gamora kills him with the knife that he gave her. Or so they think. It's only an illusion created by the Reality Stone. In reality, Thanos already has the Reality Stone, and I'm just assuming that by this point the Collector is already dead. The Reality Stone is kinda scary because it changes the form of Drax and Mantis so much so that they're still alive but they take these cut up pieces form even though they're alive and they can feel it, they're all there and they can't do anything about it. So Star-Lord promised Gamora that he would kill her, and he actually tried to, and Thanos even sort of let him do it, but as he shot her, his laser turned into bubbles, and Thanos told him that he liked him, and then used the Space Stone to teleport the both of them out of there. And we see the actual state that Nowhere is in. It's in flames, it's in ruins. So Drax, Star-Lord, and Mantis head to Titan. There, they find and fight with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man until they all realize that they're on the same side. They all want Thanos dead, so they plan to ambush him. And Doctor Strange was doing this weird kind of thing that reminded me of the process of Sherlock going on to his mind palace, because Benedict Cumberbatch is the actor for both Sherlock and Doctor Strange here. He tells us that he sees 14,605 outcomes of their fight in the future, but there is only one, just one outcome wherein they win. Their chances are kinda steep here. Back in Thanos' headquarters, he takes Gamora home and offers her food and everything. He's actually really nice to her, even though Gamora was sort of being an ass towards him. Not that I blame her, but Thanos shows her Nebula. Now, Nebula sneaked in and actually almost killed Thanos. Thanos admitted this himself, and he tortures her until Gamora finally agrees to take him to the Soul Stone. Now, this really just proves that, like he said in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, that Gamora was his favorite daughter with the way he treated both of them. So they went to a planet called Vormir, where the Soul Stone is kept. They were greeted by a cloaked figure who sort of looks like Death, though not Lady Death, the one who Thanos wants to court in the comics, but the hooded figure who takes you out to the afterlife. It turns out that this hooded figure is Red Skull, or at least I was thinking that maybe he took the form of Red Skull, until it was revealed that he was actually Red Skull. In the first Captain America movie, we thought that Red Skull was decimated by the Tesseract. It just turns out that the Tesseract, the Space Stone, actually sent him to Vormir, where he became, for some reason, the protector of the Soul Stone. So, the Soul Stone needed a potential wielder to sacrifice the thing he loved the most. Sort of a soul for a soul, Red Skull said. And this is where Gamora mocked him, saying that he had nothing to sacrifice, nothing to throw down the cliff as the Soul Stone wanted, because he loved nothing. Though she was wrong, he saw tears streaming down his face, for Thanos did love her after all, but he had to throw her off to get the Soul Stone, which he did. After she died, the Soul Stone magically appeared in his hand. After this, Thanos went to Titan, where he was ambushed by Iron Man and the others. They were all no match for Thanos, but they somehow managed to almost overpower him. Mantis was even trying to put him to sleep with her abilities. Iron Man and Spider-Man were trying to take the Infinity Gauntlet off, and they actually almost did. Everyone but Starr-Lord and Nebula were helping keep him down. Mantis said Thanos was mourning because she could read his feelings. Nebula and Starr-Lord realized that he killed Gamora, and Starr-Lord out of rage starts hitting Thanos, which snaps him out of Mantis' sleeping technique, and he gets his composure back. Thanos stabs Tony and is about to kill him, but Doctor Strange says that he should spare Tony's life in exchange for the Time Stone. So it's a good thing that Thanos was actually keeping his word this time, unlike he did with Pip, when he killed all the dwarves despite Pip making him the Infinity Gauntlet. After getting the Time Stone, Thanos just left for Earth. Back on Earth, the Avengers brought Vision to Wakanda because they knew that they had the technology to take from the forehead of Vision the Mind Stone without killing him. And only Scarlet Witch had the ability, the energy, to destroy the Mind Stone, which was what she was going to do after it was taken out from Vision's forehead. They were joined by the Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and the Wakandan warriors in battle. Banner was in the Hulk armor because the Hulk still wouldn't come out. I was always saying before that to make a formidable Avenger, they should have the Hulk have his own armor. This was sort of the closest we got to it, but not what I had in mind, because I wanted the Hulk himself to have a Hulk armor, not Bruce Banner just simply being in the Hulkbuster armor. Now Thanos' warriors came, and they were almost overwhelmed before Scarlet Witch helped them. But when she left Vision, Vision was attacked by Corvus Glaive. Captain America, though, helped Vision, and Corvus Glaive was eventually stabbed with his own blade by Vision. Scarlet Witch was able to kill Proxima Midnight, and Banner used the sort of arm booster launcher thing of the Hulkbuster armor to launch Black Dwarf into the Wakandan barrier, eventually killing him. Thor even made a grand entrance wherein Stormbreaker was killing everything, like what Mjolnir would have done, and Banner was excited. They were winning. Thor was able to bring himself, Rocket, and Groot there with sort of the same way the Bifrost teleports them places, because Stormbreaker can now do what the Bifrost does. They do not need Heimdall, they do not need the Bifrost. And finally, Thanos appears before the Avengers of Earth. None of the Avengers are able to stop him. The Infinity Stones are too powerful. Those who try going onto hand-in-hand combat with him are too weak to stop him. And Scarlet Witch has no choice. She eventually destroys the Mind Stone, killing Vision, and seemingly ending the quest of Thanos. Though Thanos isn't even angry at her. In fact, he even strokes her hair for some reason. He says he understands why she does what she does. And then Thanos revives Vision with the Time Stone. Not the Soul Stone, mind you. He sort of puts back time, only within Vision's area, bringing him back to life, and then taking the Mind Stone from him, killing him again. So Thor plunges Stormbreaker right away into Thanos' chest, and we think that he actually did it. He might have killed Thanos. You would have thought he killed Thanos if you didn't know that there was going to be an Avengers Infinity Wars Part 2. So Thanos just tells him that he should have aimed for his head and snaps his fingers. Thanos has a vision where he sees young Gamora, and she asks if she got what he wanted, and he said yes, and she asked what it took him, and he said everything. The scary part is earlier Thanos was saying that having all Infinity Stones would allow him to, with a snap of a finger, wipe out half of all the living beings in the entire universe at random. And so this is what happens. Thanos escapes with the Space Stone. All the Guardians of the Galaxy on Earth and in space, except for Rocket, start disappearing. Spider-Man disappears. Black Panther disappears. Winter Soldier disappears. Scarlet Witch disappears. Even Doctor Strange disappears. And at the end of it all, Thanos is still somewhere in Wakanda, staring at the sunset at his newfound victory. So it's fresh to see another after-credit scene that has Nick Fury in it. Nick Fury and Maria Hill are driving down when they're hit by a car who has no driver. Of course, the reason this car has no driver is because it's one of the people who disappears due to what Thanos has done. A helicopter crashes due to the effect of the same thing, its pilot disappearing, and we're just being shown sort of a different perspective of the effects of what Thanos has done throughout the world. Maria Hill starts disappearing, and right before Nick Fury disappears, he sends a distress call to what appears to be Captain Marvel. Of course, it's all writing that they need a Captain Marvel movie, but if you think about it, it's kinda lucky that Captain Marvel isn't one of the random beings in the universe that disappeared due to Thanos' endeavors. So the first thing I thought about all this was that I was really excited for Thanos. He was deemed to be the most powerful being in the universe, as he was called in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But without the Infinity Gauntlet, they really didn't show that he could do much aside from his perfect hand-to-hand combat. Even Ebony Maw would have seemed like a stronger being than Thanos just because of his special skills, though he's probably a good leader and an excellent strategist, which is why he was picked to be a great leader, the Mad Titan. He's probably the most powerful also in the sense that he has the most stamina, or he has the most powerful stature that he could bear all the Infinity Stones at once. Now Thanos' power with the Infinity Gauntlet is sort of limitless. With the Time Stone, he can manipulate time as a whole or for one focus, just like he did with Vision. He can use the Space Stone to be wherever he wants. The Soul Stone's powers haven't been shown yet, but maybe it could perhaps resurrect people, resurrect creatures, such as fighting skeletons or zombie warriors maybe. Would he resurrect Gamora with it? I don't see this far from happening. And maybe, even just maybe with the Soul Stone, we could probably see Death coming in the second movie. Who knows? Now the Power Stone he just keeps using to destroy stuff. He even destroyed what I think was a small planet or a moon. It's kinda Dragon Ball-esque in proportion, though he did it with sort of psychic powers and not a blast, and this time he used the artillery, or rather he used as artillery the debris from the planet or moon that he destroyed, and hurled it towards the Avengers. This was kind of a cool way of doing that. So the Mind Stone also hasn't shown what it can do, but it can be most likely used for mind control, brainwashing, and whatnot. And the Reality Stone is just the craziest, scariest, and most mind-boggling of the Infinity Stones. I'm not sure if the effects are permanent because of what happened in Nowhere, wherein he was able to change the way reality looked. Not reality itself, but it went back after he left, and that he was able to change Drax and Mantis's forms, but again, as soon as he left, these sort of came back to its normal selves. Now, it was used in Thor the Dark World as a teleporting entity, which is kind of weird because you have the Space Stone for that. So another question we all have is, why did Doctor Strange surrender the Time Stone to Thanos? Maybe it was just bad writing that he'd rather sacrifice Tony Stark, a person he barely knew, for the Time Stone, even though he specifically mentioned that he would give up both Tony and Spider-Man to Thanos before giving him the Time Stone, but apparently changed his mind later on without too much to go on. Or he could have also used the Time Stone against Thanos like he did against Dormammu. My guess is, he said there were 14,605 outcomes where only one of them included them winning. This was possibly a whole you can change your fate thing, but there were multiple fates that he saw, and only one wherein they possibly win, which is possibly the fate wherein he gives the Time Stone to Thanos, and so he wanted to follow this future, and gave him the Time Stone so that they could all, according to plan, if he believes the fate outcome he sees, destroy Thanos or beat him once and for all. Another thing I'm wondering is, did they save all the original Avengers from extinction on purpose? Surely it's not a budget thing with a movie as high budgeted as this. Now even Thor got back his hammer, though it's now a half hammer, half axe by the form of Stormbreaker, and even got his eye back. The eye was said by Rocket to be stolen from someone, though I think it was the eye that he got by tricking one of Yondu's men in the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's not even clear if Thor can see through this eye, because he said it was dark in Nidavellir, but that was pointed out by Rocket to be because the dying star almost had its flame out. So what do you think of all this? It just makes for an exciting second movie, and I really can't wait for it to come out. I want to hear about your thoughts on this movie down in the comment section below, because there's so many things to discuss, there's so many things that leave unanswered, and there's so many mind-boggling things about this movie that even though I expected it to be big, I just did not expect to be there, because I was expecting it to be a movie with a big grandeur fight, but not one that makes you think so much as this one actually did. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more great videos.